Good morning. Good morning. I wonder what I'm going to say the first time I don't do this show in the morning. Good afternoon. And welcome to Who Am I? It's a bit of a lazy Sunday morning here, and I may be coming down with something, so we'll see what the energy level is. But I still feel compelled to come into my space and have a discussion. And it helps me to invite others into the room with me. Whether or not anybody's actually here in the moment listening, it helps to have me turn on a microphone, broadcast outward, and then have this little discussion amongst myself. Who am I? And what am I doing here? What is the object of the exercise? What is the nature of the reality that we are all swimming in? The nature of it that we share. There are plenty of specific details that we do not share. Things that are different between us. But there is a common aspect to this whole picture that I want to think about. I want to talk about. I want us to understand. To have a better understanding of who we are and how this whole system works from an unconditional perspective. Although, obviously, I am taking all conditions into consideration. You know, we have a history. We have a history of war. We have a history of chaos and unkindness and misunderstanding and ignorance. But you know what? When you have a better understanding of this divine matrix, that this energy field that is, for lack of a better word, matrixing us all together. And then you understand who your positive and negative self are, what the meaning of the voice within. You got a voice inside of you that's just... You have a neutral one that runs from all the way up and all the way down. And just imagine this line, kind of. I don't know. It's all rather esoteric. But this neutral self, she's all the way up and all the way down. She's just looking at, in a matter-of-fact way, that rock is black. Or, there goes a squirrel. I don't know. And then bracketed on both sides of this neutral voice is positive on one side and a negative on the other. And these positive and negative ones are also divided into genders. And so you have on the one side, you have a positive feminine voice that's talking to you and a positive masculine voice that's talking to you, and then you have a negative masculine and a negative feminine. And what are those voices? All of that is all very interesting. I like to think about, so I think about the inner being that Abraham talks about, this self that you're a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. You absolutely are. And the whole thing is spinning. And it's all both spinning together and spinning separately. Every piece has its own little separate spin, but it's also spinning together with the whole thing. And there's a pattern that we are all flowing with. And so being in touch with your inner being or not sort of has to do with whether or not you are in flow with your own it's all about timing. It's all about impulses. You are getting impulses from source all the time. All the time. Everyone and everything is getting impulses from source. What's messing it up for human beings is that you can't take the impulse doesn't come through correctly if you are in the midst of your negative self. it's a scrambled symbol. It's a signal. It's a reverse signal. You've gotten backwards to yourself. You're crossing your own energy stream. Your timing is now off. You are not in clarity anymore. You are in opposition to yourself. All of these words are all kind of pointing to the same thing. And it's really, really important that we understand this aspect of ourselves. Because only then can we understand our own negative voices. When we get gobbed up to our own who you really are is the positive self. Who you really, really are is the positive self, or possibly the neutral self. But in a human form, I don't know. Abraham's claims that those in non-physical are feeling those ecstatic feelings that we in our physical bodies long to feel. We really want to feel those feelings. And so we try to find physical conditions and circumstances that allow us those ecstatic feelings. A concert that's really, really good, or an amazing outdoor adventure, or a transformative movie experience, or a love, or I don't know. We're always looking for a fast car. That would be one. A really fast car that is beautiful and sleek. And when you own it and you feel it, you're like, oh, yes. I don't know. I've never had, I can't drive fast. I've never driven fast, and I've never owned, well, for a minute I owned a Jensen Healey. For a couple of years, I owned a really cool black convertible Jensen Healey. 1970, what, 4? Anyway, who am I? Who am I? And how does it reflect on everything? Absolutely everything. Everything that human beings do can be reflected back to this question, who am I? And depending on how you answer it, all of our actions flow differently. So who am I? Well, first of all, from a unified physics point of view, the unification point of physics is to understand that when you look at the quantum world and then you turn and look at the cosmological world, in a way, you are looking at the same world from different perspectives. But it's the same thing. So, the unification, how you unify it is you take the density and the size at the quantum scale, and then you grow it to the size of the universe. And all the numbers come out right, apparently. The math is way more complicated than that, and you can find all the math you can find at least arrows pointing to where all the papers are and all the math is. Just Google Nassim Haramein. He's got stuff over at the International Space Federation, the Resonance Science Foundation. He probably has nassimharamein.org or something close to that. I don't know. His papers are up for peer review. His latest one, at least, is up for peer review, and it's at zenodo.org. So, all of that, if you're interested in looking into his work further, a whole lot of his stuff is out there. And he has been talking to lots of spiritual thinkers, leaders, bloggers, podcasters, the spiritual community out there about the implications of his work. They're the ones who are listening to him. The commercial scientific community has decided that he's a quack and is dismissing him because he is not furthering the narrative that they are all interested in, the one that keeps the particular grant money flowing in a particular way from the organizations that are upholding the status quo we've got going on right now with the particular manufacturers, the status quo companies, the fossil fuel extraction portion of all of it, that keeps all of it together. Because honestly, people, when we understand how this thing really works, we understand that there's a whole lot of things we don't need. And our electricians, we still need electricians, but they're going to need to be understanding different things, because we're not going to need to live in homes that from the ground up are wired in order to be able to get a flow of power from the local, energy generator or whatever down the street, wired into all the homes, and then it gets knocked out when we get ice storms or wind storms, and then they have to come out and restore it, and all of those paradigms that you're looking at, they are so yesterday. And so as yesterday, they are in the rear view mirror already. Now, it may not look like it, but all it's going to take is one good interruption in the way we do business right now. And when we build it back up, we're not building it back up the same way that it has been built before. Because we're going to have different and better understandings of who we are. I can't possibly be the only one scratching at the surface of this question. Who am I, and why are we here, and what's the meaning of all this, and what is the nature of this reality that we all share? We are all sharing the same reality, in a way, but in a way not. You may think we're all sharing the same reality, and that's why you think it's your business to go tell somebody else that they need to change what they're doing. But in a way, we don't share the same reality. In a way that we do. It just depends on how you're focusing. Ultimately, there is a common quantum soup, a common field of information that we're all drawing from, for sure. But the way that you navigate your own spaces is, first of all, mind your own business. Do not mind other people's business. Your ability to affect how the field shifts or not in pleasing or displeasing directions. Let's assume you're looking at something that you don't like. And so now let's assume that you want it to change. How do you get it to change? Because it actually isn't the right way to charge directly at it in your negative state, spurred on by the fact that you're looking at something that you don't like and it's making you feel bad. That's why you want it to change. And you fly at it directly. You're going to wrestle it to the ground or kill it or whatever from your negative state. First of all, in your negative state, you are not getting the right impulses from source about how to actually change that in a constructive, beneficial way. You're in that moment, you're an agent of chaos. Even though you think you're an agent of, law and order, coherence. You think you're an agent of coherence because you're looking at something you don't like. It's making you feel bad. And so you want to directly change it from that feeling of you feeling bad because you're looking at that thing you don't like. Now, this is very odd. This is probably the kind of incremental specificity in the structure of this that Abraham gave me. The idea of looking at it that closely. When you are feeling an impulse to move, where is it coming from? Is it coming from your positive side or your negative side? Because your negative side, I'm going to tell you right now, isn't you. It's not you. It's a function of the properties of being in a physical body. It has to do with the relativity of two minds that you've got. One mind that you don't really have control over directly. Your source self, you don't have control over that one. it is a, it is looking at the whole field. It knows everything because it's in touch with all of it vibrationally. It's getting a reverberation of everything as all of the individual vibrating parts vibrate and report. In essence, they're reporting all of their information through this individual vibration that they have. They're reporting, this is where I am, and this is what I'm doing. And depending on what it is you're looking at, if you're looking at a Planck or a proton or some sort of subatomic particle, it's all, the Planck is the ultimate ether fluid dynamic what's the word? It's the digit. It's the ultimate building block. It's the whatever. If you're looking at it from the very, very small, then what it's reporting is things like, I'm a particle and my temperature is X and my vector direction relative to the grid is this, and my velocity is such and such, and my whatever, that's the kind of thing that your tiny particles are uploading to the field. But then you as a whole being are uploading your information to the field too. And how are you doing it? You have a whole vibrational signature that you are offering to the universe, and it comprises of all of the energies of all of yourself. It's all of the individual askings of every one of your 50 to 100 trillion cells. It has to do with the beat of your heart. Your heart is putting out an electromagnetic field that can be read with pretty crude instruments that you could go buy at Lowe's. At least the existence of the electromagnetic field of your heart could be read. It goes out about 3 meters past your physical skin. It actually keeps going forever and ever. It is speaking to the whole field. Your whole vibrational signature is speaking to the field. Now, you've got a real clear one coming from who you really are. Your true self is never deterred by your small little fears or thoughts or whatever. It's involved with the whole field. It knows who you are, where you stand, where you just came from, where you came from right before that, where you came from right before that, what you were thinking, what you were feeling, how that relates to what everything else is thinking and feeling, because it's standing in the Venn diagram position, that place that there is a place that we all stand in. I call it, I'm not the only one who calls it that. There's a reason why they call it this. It's universal consciousness, and there's a reason why they call it universal, because we're all invited to this place, and it sort of corresponds to that that neutral voice that runs all the way up and all the way down inside of your self, But if anything, your true self is the positive side. And so whenever you think thoughts that start to resonate with who you really are and what she's thinking about the whole thing, because she loves life. She thinks your body is beautiful. And she is so excited that you are in it. She knows how special and important and miraculous the whole thing is, on the one hand, and how malleable it is, that it can be whatever you want. So she's never ever worried about you or anything. She is looking at the possibilities of what is possible for us here on planet Earth. And what is possible? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what life would be like if we collectively, just generally, understood who we were, and we understood the forces of chaos and coherence, and understood what to do about one of us if they fell into chaos? And that is soothe and love and educate and bring back to the flock of understanding of universal consciousness this being who thinks that they are disconnected and they have gone chaotic. Well, there's a reason why a lot of us go chaotic, because the systems that we have developed here on planet Earth are not in alignment with who we really are and what we really want out of this. And what we really, really want out of this is we want general abundance for all of us. General abundance for all of us. We want working ecosystems. We want life to be growing and flourishing and abounding and not shrinking or waning or struggling the way that it's true. We are doing this to our ecosystems. Our world is much deader than it needs to be. And we do want a comfortable world. In the past, a way living world has often meant, too many brambles and biting insects and poisonous snakes, and scorpions and things, desperately fighting to survive in a harsh environment, And we have beaten it back and felt ourselves in conflict with this life. But you know what? If we understood who we were and that the field was actually an extension of ourselves, and on the one hand, you have to mind your own business, and the business you need to mind is the business of getting yourself into alignment with who you really are. And then from that position, join the fray. Join the project, join Project Life, Project Who Am I? Join it, but join it from your aligned position. And so what does it mean to be aligned? In alignment with what? And how does this relate to Nassim Haramein's work about the scales of the universe, the scales of this flow of data and information, and how it all works? Well, so your inner being is a larger flow of data and information. Your inner being is your vibrational greater self in touch with all of the rest of the field, because you are in touch with all the rest of the field, and you're doing it vibrationally, and you're doing it holographically. You're doing it all the time. And who we all really are, and I mean all the way down, even the people the murderers, even your enemies, we are all this same design. And so the meaning of I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, maybe saying it. Nope, hold on. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I shouldn't have said it. It's the effect of saying the word raspberry. That was a trick my girls learned. And it's just, if you have the meaning in your mind that raspberry means, if you say it, then you can't sneeze anymore. I thought I was going to sneeze. So who are we? Who are we, and what is the meaning of our negative emotion? Because, our negative emotion is also, on the other hand, is not wrong, in the sense that it is looking at something that we don't like, something that we would prefer to change, something that probably in itself is not in alignment, and that's why it's rubbing us the wrong way, because it's I got something in my eye too. I'm almost halfway through though. Having a good morning. So that if we truly understood what our positive and negative self was, we would be working on helping to rehabilitate the negative, but you have to do it from a holistic point of view, also recognizing that in a way they are not wrong. In a way, they might very well be looking at something that is out of alignment, and wouldn't it be nice if it was in alignment? But the trick is you can't heal the world from the perspective of believing that it is broken, because it's not broken. The problem is that we are not understanding it, and we're not understanding ourselves. And so we're the ones that need to adjust here. And all of our desires could be met. Our desire for individual freedom, our desire for mutual abundance, and fulfillment for all individuals. We could set up a system that was absolutely based on alignment, based on a recognition of who we are and what we want to do. I'll tell you who we are, and I'll tell you what we want to do. I like the vision of us as the playful otters of the universe. It's true, we want to play. We are very, very playful. And what we want to do is we want to visit one another around the planet. We want to get to know each other and ourselves. Actually, it's us getting to know ourselves. Us moving around the planet and visiting one another is us understanding that, oh, this is the family of man. This is mankind. This is who we are. We love to do it. It's fun. We go, we sleep with each other. We eat each other's food. We buy each other's, knickknacks and souvenirs. We experience one another's customs, and we sail in each other's beautiful waters, and we get to know Source from different locations on this beautiful, beautiful planet. We're going to keep wanting to do that. And we're going to want to have collective transportation systems that accommodate this, even when we figure out that we don't need to burn fossil fuel and we understand gravity control. At first, there's going to be large ships that we build collectively that move around the planet in the same way that our airplanes and stuff do now. We're going to have some system of moving around the planet. We like to play with each other. We're going to keep building theme parks and parkland places where we can go and interact with this beautiful natural field that we are blessed with. As soon as we understand how the field works, we're going to be able to create, we're going to be able to create our goods differently. We will not have to turn all the truffula trees into the needs that we need. If we really need the needs, we can summon them from our replicator technologies as we pull them directly from the matrix. Our materials technology is going to get really, really interesting as soon as we quit this damn status quo paradigm we got going on right now that's feeding the status quo of the businesses that are. It's all the military industrial complex, which is also feeds all the way to the commercial industrial complex, which feeds to all the the collective industrial complex of all things. It's where we are coming together in our oneness, in our collective nature. And in that collective nature aspect of ourselves, we do not know who we are. And that's the one that needs to know who we are. Because when that one understands who we are, then our whole systems all across the planet are going to be in good alignment. We're going to have our peace on earth, the goodwill towards men. The only reason we've got the paradigm of competition and scarcity that we got going on right now is that people are playing the game in a win-lose manner, staring at the wrong end of the stick, and not taking advantage of co-creating with this magnificent, intelligent, omniscient, omnipotent energy that we are all part of. And when you enlist it in ventures that collectively is in all of our best interest, then that feels really good, because that's us in alignment with our smaller selves and our larger selves. You are two flows of information. Actually, you're many, 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 many flows, and they all come together. You are spinning both separately and together with this whole field. And playing it like you are a separate, isolated individual in a disconnected field that's in competition with itself and each other, that's what's causing the problem, people, not the general setup. The general setup is eminently blessed. But we just got to start playing this differently. Your enemy is not the enemy you think that he is. And the way that you conquer all of your enemies is you make every single one of them your friend. But you do that in wholeness and without naivety. You do it from a position of knowing who we are and what our positive and negative emotions really are, and you get into alignment with the impulses from your inner being, the impulses from your greater self, which is who your inner being is. They're both you. One is you, the data flow that's coming through your atomic structure. The wholeness of you that's coming through the holistic, holographic field of your physical atomic structure. And then the rest of it is you plugged into the wholeness of everything that's coming through you as your universal structure. But they are not different fields of information. They are just different scales of information. And so when you find yourself in a position where your small self is misunderstanding things that your larger self knows full well, that's when you go into states of negative emotion. And that's why you should never act from your state of negative emotion, but you should always forgive yourself. You should take it easy on yourself when you are in a state of negative emotion. You're okay. Your equipment's working just fine. Soothe yourself. Find your alignment again. Only from your position of some neutral to positive territory. It's either got to be neutral to positive, or you are not taking the impulses in a flowing, downstream, coherent manner, assisting with the organizational fields of coherence and alignment. You're not flowing that way, you're flowing the other way, and you are now parts of the storms of chaos with a capital K, as in that fundamental chaotic force from the Greek philosophical point of view. But it also, there's a place where the philosophical absolutely meets the hard physical. If you can get your imagination, your philosophical mind dreaming in ways that are in alignment with the way the physical world actually is, woo! Now you just have to say what you want, and you will get the impulses to walk that direction easy, just the same way that if I said I want a glass of milk. Now I don't have any milk, so I would have to say I would like a glass of almond milk. I do have some of that. And then just as easy, I know what the steps are. I would get up from the chair I'm in right now. I'd walk that direction, open the door, walk down the hall, navigating some furniture, and then make my way to the big box that I know has the cold stuff in it. And I would open one of the doors, and I know where it is. It's in the back, and and then there's a bunch of steps involved. It's not like magic, like I'm just twinkling my nose, and then there it happens. But that is the potential for human beings if we were in alignment with our actual selves. Instead of thinking that our greater self is something other than ourselves, and we call it God, and then we get all weird about it, and we're uncomfortable about thinking about it or lining up with it or taking it seriously or anything like that, when it's actually a different scalar version of a flow of information that you are. But don't get full of yourself. Don't get too full of yourself, because I am too. And she is, and they are. And by the way, all of the natural world, everything is. Because it's all holographic. And so the glory of consciousness has to do with being aware of this greater field of information that we all share, that we're all part of, that we're all dancing with. Isn't it cool? Isn't it wonderful? And now I know we are beasts. We're terrible. We're murderous, childish, short-sighted. We're horrible. We're horrible. And just study your history and you can see how the potential for horrible that human beings are. But focusing that direction is not going to help anything. What will help is actually to understand our actual nature. The way to conquer the negative self, the way to is not to wrestle it to the ground and kill it in everybody else. Oh, they're being negative. We've got to stop that. They did something under the influence of their negative self, and they accidentally or on purpose caused harm to somebody. And so now they will rot in prison, and whatever the F garbage they get from now on, they deserve it. And so, we'll put our thugs in the prisons as the whatever. I could go into the biggest hurdle that we are going to have moving forward. I notice this in my personal life. I see this when you see someone dealing with someone or something in their life that involves a deeply negative person. Maybe it's an ex-lover that they actually never wished harm for and always wished for their greater fulfillment and abundance and, greater success and happiness. You always wished that for them. But it turned out that when they broke up with you because, well, you in your discomfort perhaps committed an indiscretion that at the moment, you didn't realize, what or why this was really happening. But when now this other person has broken up with you and they are so effing negative that you never realized, that their position now is whatever happens, I must see you fail. You must fail. The one thing I cannot abide is for you to have any success. And that's what this ex is feeling about this person who never wished the ex any harm at all and still doesn't wish the ex any harm. But this person is negative and cannot handle the idea of their enemy. Now, you are my enemy. You are my ex. You are my enemy. You hurt my feelings. You disrespected whatever we had going on there. And so now you are my enemy and I cannot wish you well. And it's weird. I know somebody else who is dealing with this as an ex also. Now, neither one of I don't have an ex. I have a current. But this other person broke up with, for whatever reason, and they have a child together. This is really, really sad. They have a child together. And the girl of the party now sees baby daddy, as a monster and cannot abide anyone being friends with him, anyone having anything to do with him. And it's really effing with the child and all the family members involved. It's really driving about. And you see this both large and small. I see a lot of people politically who would have a very hard time seeing Trump be successful. They don't want him to be successful, even though his success equals the success of the United States. But they don't want him to be successful because, well, actually, in this particular case, I can get it because you see a lot of chaos going on within him. He is full of the us versus them. You can see it. It's very out of alignment. And so you don't really, it's hard to know how to feel about this. I would personally like Trump to get into deep, deep personal alignment with his true inner being. And then from that position, I would like to see him win, 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 and all of us win right behind him. But that's not exactly what's happening, and that's not exactly the role that he's playing. He seems to be an agent of chaos. He is a smasher. He is Shiva energy embodied. Loki energy. He's burn it to the ground, baby, kind of. People are upset and they did not want to vote for the status quo because whatever is going on, they know that they need a change. A change needs to happen. They don't like the way it feels. It feels, the whole system feels fascist. It feels weighted against you. Actually, it's going to be... I promise you, once we understand the energy aspect of this equation, though, there's going to be a huge shot in the arm of energy to all of mankind's positive endeavors, all the things that he wants to do that are in alignment with what the field wants to do. The beautiful things, the gardening projects, the life-sustaining, preserving, observing projects that he's got going on, all of those things will be greatly aided and abetted when we no longer burn fossil fuel. Because the source of, the energy source of source is pure, it's free, it's clean, it's everywhere. You just got to understand, we've got to understand who we are and how this whole matrix thing works. Now, I direct your attention to, now, I don't know who is going to be listening to this at someday. Somebody might be listening to it right this moment. That would be lovely. I'm not going to go over and look and see whether anybody is, because if I don't see anybody over there, sometimes it takes my energy down just a tick. Because I also realize it doesn't matter. I'm putting it out on the waves. And if it isn't picked up today, it could be picked up tomorrow or the next day. The law of attraction knows where everything is and who needs to hear whatever, and it will be giving them impulses to, whatever. So, and I don't know why I do this anyway. I have no audience. But I am feeding the field, and I think that it's really important that I do so. And the fact that I even exist, that I'm sitting here doing this, should be very encouraging to others, because it means that this information is rising in the field. And that it's not very long before we're going to hit a saturation point where things start clicking into place, and we're going to go, oh, that's who we are, and that's how it could work. Ooh, let's put our systems into alignment with the truth of who we really are and what we really want. What do we all really want? What does every single, both individual and collective, what do we all want? What do we want that is not in conflict with what other... I'm going to tell you what we want. We want, each and every single one of us wants the freedom to call our own path, whether it's stupid or not. We want the freedom to be able to call our own way, our own path. Follow our own path. That's one. Freedom. We want beauty, we want joy, fun, abundance, good food, life, living abundant ecosystems. We want clarity, understanding, we want connection, we want to understand how we flow with all of this so that we can understand how to be the best damn gardeners of Eden that we could possibly be. Let's build a world where, as much as possible, let's leave the natural ecosystems alone. And then let's build ways to interact with it from a really soft side. so that we can observe how beautiful, how amazing it is, from comfort and safety, and also safety for the ecosystem, so that we're not out there with our ATVs and all kinds of shit, killing everything, and digging roads through, throwing our garbage and all that stuff. But human beings are not going to do any of this stuff. When they get into alignment with who they really are, it's their negative self that is causing the destructive behavior. I call this negative self, I like to tag it back into philosophical and mythological concepts. And religious concepts. So I call it Loki energy, Shiva energy, demonic energy, But it's the energy caused by a human being who got himself backwards to source and then tried to move forward when he's going the wrong way. And now the whole flow is messed up. So interesting. So interesting. I'm 46 minutes in. What do I want to talk about? Because, this is so very important. Who we are is everything. It has to do with how we address ourselves in our own personal existence, our relationship to our loved ones and our jobs and our neighbors and our government and other nations. It goes to our relationship with everything. With the internet, you know what the internet is? The internet is the budding nervous system of humanity. Humanity with a capital H, or mankind with a capital M. If I use the word mankind, then because it sounds so sort of gender masculine on the one side, then when I use the pronoun to describe her, I use the feminine, and now that pretty much covers all the bases. Mankind and how she feels about everything. Who she is, who am I? Who are we? Where did we come from? And why is it that mankind, unlike the rest of the natural world, doesn't seem to be able to naturally fit into our natural spaces the same way? Why would that be? My personal theory is that because we are genetically modified creatures. It's almost the same kind of thing as when you take I used to think it was this. I used to think we were from another planet. But I don't actually think we're from another planet anymore. Now that we know more about genetics, we understand that we can look into our genes and see that, we seem to share genetics with a bunch of other creatures here on planet Earth. We seem to be from planet Earth. Now, I don't know whether there's any genes spliced into us that are not from planet Earth. I don't know. I'm not a geneticist myself. But I do know that there is a real fishy looking thing over on human chromosome number 2 that looks very much like an intentional splicing of 2 of our chromosomes together, telomere to telomere, and then with some redundancies because it was 2 full chromosomes now coming together, and these 2 now need to be one codependent one so that it doesn't unsplice. So redundancies on both sides of the fusion were clipped away to stabilize this fusion. Now you could imagine, maybe, if you have a really vivid imagination, maybe you could figure out how that could have happened accidentally. But the fact that it then produced the neocortex, which in itself is it is what is responsible for both the control of and the tremendous range of human emotion. And then when you recognize that this human emotion is like an instrument that is playing like a Piper tune to a universe that's listening, it's just all really, really humbling and amazing and cool. And it also makes you, it's fishy. You go, you know what? I think we were genetically modified. I think somebody did this on purpose. Because the fact that if this just fused together accidentally and then just coinkadinkly produced the neocortex, which produces the the emotions which speak to the field the way they do, which produces all of reality, it's like, wow, that is a coincidence. So I actually think we were genetically modified. And so that begs a lot of other questions. Who did that to us? And if you believe some of the information that's out there, they probably did it against their own laws, because that Star Trek thing, the Prime Directive, is a thing. You're supposed to not interfere with planets that are naturally evolving and species that are naturally evolving. You're not supposed to get in there and do something like that. So our ancestors might be outlaws or mavericks, or there's something. But it's all very interesting. And then comes questions like, well, what star system did they come from? Who are they? Are they still around? Anybody been watching us since they gave birth to us? Some 200,000 years ago, when this genetic modification was done, and anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth. I'm going to change my picture just because this is a very nice picture, but it doesn't, let's just get something different going. I put these naturescapes going on in the background, and then it's just like me standing up in front of a podium or something and giving a speech to people about who we are and where we're going. Where are we going as human beings? I think first of all, what we need to do is we need to understand ourselves. Because the way we are behaving towards those who have gone negative is really not helpful. And it's making the world go more and more negative. And all of it is just screaming that we do not understand our positive and negative nature. We don't understand who we are. We don't understand how anything works. It's just screaming that. So the very first thing we need to do is understand who we are, and then the second thing we do is we take that understanding and we apply it to all of our so-called problems that we have on planet Earth. Our problems of scarcity and first thing I think we do, we conquer gravity and plug ourselves into a better energy source. But if we don't understand our negative self, then somebody is going to want to use those heightened capabilities to stick it to somebody that they imagine is their enemy. And that's not cool. We've got to get past that in our consciousness before we can be safe to have free, clean energy everywhere and gravity control and all that. Because as long as we stay our vindictive, small, separate little selves, we can't be trusted with that kind of energy and information. We can't. So that's why I do the show. We're trying to raise the consciousness out there. Who am I? Where do we come from? What's the object of the exercise? The object of the exercise, people, is twofold: general, specific, alignment, and joyful sustainability. Those are both kind of general views. Now, what is the object of your exercise? Every individual has to answer that. They have to look around, and based on what they've got and what they care about within what they've got, so you've got to kind of start tuning your tuner to the things that you care about in your field, the things that you like, the things that you love. Now, this is really hard, especially when you're looking at it materialistically, because when you focus on the things that you love, you realize right away how in danger everything is. You know, you focus on that child that you love, and do you know how many jillions of ways that there are that the universe is going to snatch that child away from you? And one of the reasons that we feel so scarce about all of that is that we are not recognizing the whole field as part of ourselves, as absolutely lovable, as, you know, love itself. We're not recognizing it. And so when we find something to love, then we just glom onto it. And if that's taken away from us, then love is gone. When we don't recognize that the love was only ever coming from a resonant frequency coming from within ourselves. And if you can learn to line your two selves up, because the object of the exercise is actually alignment. That's what it is with a human being. With all the rest of the natural world, they already have the object of the exercise. They are born into alignment. They live their whole lives in alignment. They are never moving contrary to the impulses of God. They are always just moving in this neutral way that is sort of benefiting the whole field. They're just always doing that. But human beings don't naturally do that, because we have this neocortex thing that somebody gave us, and then we don't have written in stone any kind of user's manual that tells us, oh, by the way, only your positive self is your actual real self. Your negative self is actually happening when you take small thoughts that disagree with your larger self. That larger flow of data that you are. That scale, that larger scale of data and information that you are. So don't argue with your broader perspective, and know that your broader perspective is okay with everything. Who you really are, who you are as the whole field, who you are from your broader perspective of information, it's all good. Now, that's almost a good stopping point. What it is I'm almost up to the hour point, so I'm going to go over to the live place, and oh yay, I do have somebody here. Hello, my friend. I hope it is you. If it's somebody else, then somebody else has been listening for 43 minutes, and I find that absolutely delightful. In any case, wow, 2 concurrent viewers, 1 like. Somebody came in and left. Nobody's talking to each other. That's all right, though. Somebody else found me, and I don't know whether they stayed. Actually, I'm very confused at the things that I'm looking at right now. So that's all right. I don't know who is listening. If it is not my regular friend, if it's somebody else, I hope that I see you again tomorrow or the next day or the next day. This is part of my own personal oral meditation that I use to start my day. I get grounded in who I really am, so that when I come across things in the world, it doesn't knock me down. Hi, it is you. Always hoping. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow. I am glad that you caught today's show. You missed a few minutes of it. Maybe it was lovely at the beginning. I do that all the time. Anyway, I have done that to you. I have written stuff in the chat and then closed the whole thing down and went, oh, I never actually wrote anything. But that's all right. I'm talking to you with my voice, and that way I don't have to figure out my computer and my keyboard and all that right now. I will be back tomorrow to muse some more about who we are. thank you, my friend. I appreciate you too. And we are in blessed universal communion with this whole field. And I know that we have a magnificent future ahead of us. Now, how much rough water we go through before we find that, now that's entirely up to us. But what I would suggest is find the vibration of what you're looking for and lead with that, and let the material configuration around you adjust as it will. But focus on the spirit. Don't focus on the material. Focus on the spirit. Do in reverse what Milton Mayer, in hindsight, said, oh, look what we did. We focused on the forms, and the spirit changed right out from under us, and it turned out the spirit was the important part. If you focus on the spirit, then you end up with the right spirit, and then the matter, the shape of the matter around you can morph into whatever it needs to be to match the spirit that it is that you're looking for. Because you are actually a spirit. You are a frequency. You are a feeling. And that feeling that you actually are is love. And that's why you love things. Because when you look at them, something about it is resonating with the love that you are. And when you're in a state of negative emotion, well, you're thinking thoughts that are way out of phase with your broader perspective. Way out of phase. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more about that and what our lives could be like if humanity understood who we were and how to plug into this limitless flow of data, information, and energy. And until tomorrow, God bless, and as always, may the source be with you.